even makes tongue-in-cheek references to it. In the very first episode, He-Man stabs Skeletor, and he says, "You finally used that sword for what it was meant for, to open the orb." Twofold thing. One, they weren't allowed ever in the original He-Man series to let him use his sword, so it was kind of funny. He would carry it sometimes, flash it around, but never actually stab anybody with it. And two, if you had the Castle Grayskull set, which of course I did because I was a spoiled little brat, you got to use the power sword to open up the gates of Castle Grayskull, right? He continues to go on and make more references to the original toy. Prince Adam shortly has to stop this release of magic that's going to make Skeletor powerful and undefeatable. And the power sword splits in two. The original power sword in the boxes, one came in a purple half that came with Skeletor. The other came in the traditional steel half that came with He-Man. So all of this right there in the lore. But when watching it, I loved how Smith brought it out into a slightly more palatable form, a slightly more understandable form, stuff that they didn't even ever address in the original comic book. Now, in the first episode, He-Man dies, and I think that is a fantastic way to do it. Keep in mind, we've only gotten 5 episodes of this so far, so we aren't even at the end of the story arc. But it totally changed the stakes of the thing. He has really good talent working on it. He has Sarah Michelle Gellar playing Teela. And these are characters that were never really fleshed out. The best fleshing out they did, and the most interesting part about it was that in a lot of the original ones, they came with little comics. And that was the original story to try and flesh some of that out. But in the original series, they didn't delve too deeply into their psyches, into their motivations. And here we have Smith starting to do that, including Teela being very upset that she is the only one that doesn't know the secret identity of Prince Adam, who is also He-Man, which was something made up for the show in the first place. They even had to make a Prince Adam figure who, of course, similarly enough, had the exact same form as He-Man. Even in the original show. In the original show, Adam was jacked. Dude, right? All I can tell is that from birth in Eternia, you're doing deadlifts. Like, they get you up, they get you out of your mama, and then they just start loading that bar. And they're just like, dude, get swole right now. Or they kick you off Eternia. So how Teela didn't know.
Sparta.
Yeah, how Teela didn't know that the two were the same. It's the Clark Kent Superman of that particular toy universe. But all right. But she's upset. She walks away from her duties. The Man-at-Arms, Duncan, He-Man's best friend, gets stripped of his title by the king for keeping this as a secret from him. He's so angry. How Shakespearean is that? Get out of my sight. Leave me now. It's amazing. To me, that was just really cool and amazing. And they got Lena motherfucking Headley. Yes, Cersei herself to play Evil Lynn. How awesome is that? Right? And yes, we presume she's banging Skeletor. But He-Man, but Beastman wants to bang her too. I mean, it's awesome. This is great. This is exactly what should be done. Because why? Because this entire thing is aimed at 12-year-olds who are now in their 40s, like we are. That's exactly what this series was aimed for. And Kevin Smith delivered without being over the top. Something I could still show my kids. It's not, I'm inferring all these things. It's not actually graphically sexual for anyone who's out there watching. He didn't go that crazy. But of course, he changed things, but he had to change things. He had to bring the story a little more forward, give it a little more gravitas, and actually make it something you could possibly care about, especially now in your 40s. And even honestly, even as a kid, 10, 12, I always thought there was a little something lacking there. And I'll even say that with G.I. Joe and Transformers. And what did they try and do with some of those? They started killing off characters. They started making the stakes a little bit more real. Even us as children of the 80s could get our heads around that if there was nothing to lose, if there were no stakes there, the characters in the series and the story didn't mean as much to us, right? One of the reasons many of us liked those first seasons of Game of Thrones is they didn't let you get attached to anybody too much. This was for real. The Game of Thrones was no bullshit. So is He-Man now Game of Thrones? No. But it's got a little bit more meat on the bone. It's got a little bit more attached to it. And it brought it right in on my last second there. So gonna take a deep breath. I took a little inspiration there from the Three of Clubs. I guess I grabbed a little piece of his Mario star or mushroom or whatever we got going on today. You know,
was good.
Yeah.
Bro, whatever I got is there's plenty to share. So
that's why we love you. You don't bogart that shit. You do not. You let that.
I got it to own. I got it to share.
Yeah, that's it. Well, that was me. I ran off the ropes there. You know, did a couple of moves. You know, threw the arm up there.
No, it was really important to mention like a lot of the shortcomings of the original show, because you'll notice that like He-Man does a lot of the same motions and moves. That's not an accident. They reused a ton of that shit.
Yes, limited animation.
Yeah, absolutely. Even as a child, I knew that animation sucked.
Yes, and well, and you were inspired by animation. Was animation what inspired you to become an artist, Greg, or was it? I didn't know if there was anything in particular, or it was just a process that led
probably being good at it.
Well, there's that too.
I mean, I loved animation, but you know, it was just one of many things.
Yes. Well, you know, it was something that a lot of us could spot, but you know, I'll let you get to it. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it's definitely something, especially with that limited, more, you know, everyday animation. They had to do series every day, and the Saturday afternoon.
But you didn't touch on, you know, how it is the toxic fanboys are unfortunately reacting to this.
Well, let's see. You're right, and it's really hard to get it all in 10 minutes, but I do want to make sure I keep somewhat clear and concise and leave a little room, because I am leaning out of the ring and I'm tapping out to the Three of Clubs, who's coming in with a vengeance now. After that, we're looking at the crowd right now. We're laughing because right now, Greg, we're laying into you, right? This is that part of the match, you know, where I was just, you know, hitting the mat, hitting the floor, all that stuff. And I'm laughing and going on over to the Three of Clubs. Bring it on in. Let's bring on in with that folding chair.
I don't know, man. The way you're kind of hyping me up to the crowd makes me feel like it's, I mean, if we're referencing WWE or F, depending on what generation, which, by the way, kudos. I love the way you described that generation. If there's a way to put us all together, both all sexes and gender, calling us the action figure generation is pretty dead on, man.
Thank you.
But yeah, going back to at least the days when I was watching it, it was called WWF. This is right around the time that ally to the hero who's been hyping him up for everything all the way up to like SummerSlam shows up and smacks the dude in the back of the head with said folding chair, while the heel's standing there nodding his head like, yep, the plan's going exactly how I wanted it to. Or at least if I'm the heel, the hero gets that, but whatever. So, speaking of heroes, it's funny, when we talk about fanboys, I think that often they end up, to me, reflecting what the tragic hero arc is always, which is, you know, you have a disappropriated, disassociated group, normally a minority, that's, you know, going up against the power, and they fight so long and so hard, and sacrifices are made, and you know, they do everything they can to make sure that they get to their ultimate goal, whatever it may be, so they're heard and their opinions are heard and they're respected because they're the arbiters of said content and blah, blah, blah. And like any other hero arc, you know, you have a conflict and you're the underdog and you're fighting to get up to that point, and eventually, you know, you get the power like the fanboys do. And at first, I believe in any situation, there's a lot more good. And so holding content creators accountable to either A, the source material, so even if you're fucking up, you're at least doing the source material, or trying harder, is I think where the fanboys were able to have some sort of positive separation and inclusion into the world that is our media. That being said, just like every tragic hero arc, they plummet directly down into the evil side with any little source of power, and that's where it fucking goes wrong. And that leads us to goddamn He-Man. Because forget about the fact that the title is literally called Masters of the Universe. It's He-Man, Masters of the Universe. That's why, and we'll get to a couple of weird connections, Easter eggs if you want to effing call them. That's why when the movie came out back in the 80s, and no one's saying it's a good movie, and there's a lot of weird things around how that movie came about. Started from the fact that one actor totally thought the movie was about something else, and he went in acting that way, and the other actor wasn't good enough as far as the director and the producer's eyes to speak English. So they go through all these hoops to get the guy to be the main character, something that we're all paying attention to because, you know, that's why we're there. And the dude came and delivered his lines. I mean, the movie itself is so many weird things, but that's why it was called Masters of the Universe. You could argue even back then, they were trying to subvert our understanding of the series in a way of trying to grow it. Because if it's always around one person, then you're doomed to fail on so many different levels. You'll never rise up to everyone's opinion. The best you can do is tell a good story. That's why fanboys have a point when they're going against content creators and they want them to, at least if they're using source material that's already been taken care of and created, to at least adhere to that. Because in everyone's mind, no matter what you argue, if you stay close to source material, then at least you are appreciating some of the masses because that's what they're there to see. You can do it bad, you can do it good, you can do a lot of different things. However, I would argue most fanboys, that's kind of the underlying theme. Where they get fucked up and where it kind of aligns to He-Man is everyone has so many different opinions about it that we fail to understand, mainly fanboys, that if we all get our opinions heard and done and executed, and to the point where we're bullying, if not damn near kidnapping a project until we get exactly what we want, then how exactly do you get a good project? How exactly do you answer the question?
Oh, I was gonna say it's like Poochie on The Simpsons, is what you're describing.
Exactly. Well, one of the main things The Simpsons have been very prophetic about. So when it comes back to He-Man, and simply even back when the movie came out, subverting our understanding of the series in order to expand it, which includes He-Man, and going with the understanding that it's Masters of the Universe, one of the things that's established immediately in the new series, it's about the fucking universe. It is about Eternia. It's about some parts Subternia. It's about Preternia. It's about literally the mythos that comes up in the Masters of the Universe and everything that's around it. It is literally about also the heroes that were there to protect it. They cover that shit. They actually do a pretty good job. It wasn't necessarily like an expedition dump. I mean, it was, but in the same way, it made sense in why they're going in the direction that they were going. They literally are pointing out to Adam and everyone involved, hey man, guess what? You know, this whole thing called Grayskull is named after me. Oh shit, yeah, there's other heroes here too. Oh shit, you're a hero, yeah. You're also not gonna be the hero forever. Damn. Okay, well, cool. That's why Adam at first was like, well, if there's gonna be other heroes, I'm good. So he's good. The whole idea is that this thing was about Eternia and about the Masters of the Universe. They were called Masters of the Universe for a reason. Clearly, they had dominion over life forms. They had space flight. They had the capability of doing off-world colonization. So it's pretty clear that they were fucking masters of something. They were also to the elevation of having heroes, people who were even above all that kind of stuff. He-Man was just one of them. So that's one thing that I found that was actually pretty good. And again, as Josh pointed out, it's the first fucking season. There's plenty of bad shows out there that we've given way more seasons. How about we just wait until we get through and see how much of this is actually going to include He-Man? And Will the Bad's probably going to include a lot, because even Kevin Smith said, if you think I'm going to make a He-Man series without He-Man for the whole arc of the story, you are absolutely fucking insane. And I agree with him. That's just completely overreacting and not even appreciating the fact that the people he actually paid attention to in the first part are actually people in the series that we grew up with. That's the other thing that pisses me off about this whole outrage. It's not like my man created a bunch of new people to focus on. They fucked up and did that in the movie. I don't give a shit how you feel about Courtney Cox. She had no business being there, along with a couple other fucking people. We were there to see Orko, and we got some weird thing that looked like he had snot and long ears on him. I don't even want to fucking go into the rest of those weird guys. Like, there's literally one scene where it kind of looks like this